Hello, everyone. Yay. My name is Val, and I am the community manager of LIPS. I studied feminist and queer theory at Harvard, and I've dabbled in some erotic filmmaking. And that is Annie on with me today. And Annie is LIPS's founder and is an AI contributor to Forbes. We are so thankful to be here today. Thank you so much to the organizers and to all of the fellow presenters. This conference is truly incredible, and we have a lot to get to today, so we're going to jump right into it. So our talk today is called Designing a Better Internet for Women and the LGBTQIA plus community. And let me start by saying that this task of ours is a challenging one, and it's going to take the entire community. So the first question that I want to ask us is, who is this community? Who is the women of sex tech, or more generally, who is sex tech? And I propose that we are a group of people who understands that there is a physical space and a digital space, and like many of our presenters have sort of addressed, is that we all understand that we are navigating between these worlds, and that the boundaries between these worlds are super blurred. So when we say designing a better internet, that we know that that has vast implications for the physical world as well. But there's something else that unites us all that is super awesome. And I am going to use an Audre Lorde quote to explain this one. She has an article called The Use of the Erotic as Power. And so a quote from her piece says, "Every oppression must corrupt or distort those various sources of power within the culture of the oppressed that can provide energy for change." For women and the LGBTQ+IA community, this has meant a suppression of the erotic as a considered source of power and information within our lives. So whether that's sexism, racism, homophobia, classism, colonialism, or multiple vectors of these oppressions, we are a group of people leveraging technology to reclaim and cultivate erotic power, which we use to fight against injustice. And that's a definition that I sort of came up with in thinking about all the different groups of people who fall under this sex tech umbrella, or the sex tech landscape. And so the who of sex tech is important here because it's not just the people building the technology itself, and we're actually often misinterpreted as that. We've been called sort of like neoliberal self-helpers, but I just know that that's bullshit because our community is building so much more than that. And designing a better internet is going to take all of us. So what we're doing as sex tech is we're building new knowledge and information structures, and that's the most important thing that we need to keep doing because that actually informs the technologies, the technological tools that we're building. And what I mean by that, for examples, are that, first of all, sex workers literally pioneered the internet by building some of the strongest networks, communities, virtual platforms in order to overcome the insane censorship, control, and stigma around their work. So there's sex workers, there's sex educators who are, building knowledge troves really and clarifying these falsehoods that we've for so long been told about our bodies. We have artists who are helping us imagine this future in ways that words just cannot do. We have healers of all kinds building radical healing methods that are helping those of us who've survived traumas and helping us heal and cope with that and living with that. And of course, we have the companies building vibrators that really help us harness that erotic power that I mentioned and put that toward things like suing the MTA. And so while our community is powerful and resilient, the truth is that unfortunately, we still rely on a lot of technologies and knowledge structures that were not built by or for us. And so did you know that 73% of the LGBTQ plus content online is flagged as inappropriate? Did you know that Instagram's banned hashtags in 2019 included hashtag curvy, hashtag bi, hashtag lesbian, hashtag body love? That's one of the ones, hashtag body love is one of the ones I always refer back to see if anything has changed. Because if you look it up right now, I guarantee you'll see a message from Instagram, detailing that body love is basically a targeted hashtag. And lastly, nearly 2/3 of social media users say they often or sometimes come across racist, sexist, homophobic, or religious-based hate content on social media. And you can check out lips_zine on Instagram for more of this research that we've been collecting over time. And so on top of the technology not being built for us, it's also, as we know, being regulated by a government that passes a bill like FOSTA SESTA, or is, looking to pass a bill like the Earn It bill, hashtag fuck Earn It. So, so we know that. And also, actually, interestingly enough, right before this conference began, Allison, the president of the Women of Sex Tech, told me that the technology on which we were supposed to have this conference, cough Zoom, cough YouTube, told us that this conference was violating their community guidelines. And so many of us, to varying degrees, and now all of us today, have experienced some form of this. And so the question is, what do we do about it? And I'm going to again refer back to Audre Lorde, of course, my feminist and queer theory background. Audre Lorde says the master's tools will never dismantle the master's house. And so what that leaves us with is we have to build our own tools, and making sure that these tools are informed by research into our community's collective differences. We have such a diverse community. We're so different, and we have to use this to our advantage. We have to educate each other with compassion and empathy, give each other feedback, collaborate. Something that we do really well, self-interrogate, is so important in this process. And by continuing to build the knowledge structures, we'll keep uncovering the needs of our community and then be able to build the technological tools that we need. So I know I'm preaching to the choir here, and so many of us do these things already, but I just want to encourage you all to never be modest with your ambitions. Don't hold back. And before I give the mic to Annie to give us some examples of these technological tools informed by research into our collective differences, I want to say that what these tools built by our community will be capable of is beyond our imagination, and chipping away at the dominant systems of power is how we design a better internet. So now I pass the mic to Annie, who will share with you some more results of our research, some of the needs our community has demonstrated, and some examples of technology empowered by those needs.
All right. Ooh, switcheroo. Thank you, Val. Love the feminist theory background, because that's a lot of what we're doing. We're taking, what we're doing at LIPS is we're taking feminist theory, inserting it into the current tools that we have, because, a lot of us like those tools. But the problem is that, like was stated in the previous one, the people, Norma's talk, the people who design these tools are not familiar with our challenges, and in fact are biased towards us in very direct ways. And so what does a better internet look like exactly? Well, a few things. We want to encourage technologies that create a safe space for expression. So that includes without censorship, hashtag stop censoring sluts, and without plagiarism, without trolls, and also embrace the queer aspects of identity. So allow you to kind of be yourself in full. Also social mobility, so the ability to advertise, buy, sell, and community. So that we are creating our own community guidelines built by our standards, not built by someone else's standards who don't understand the difference between sexual expression and sexual exploitation. I think a great example of this is AI algorithms. So a couple examples that I've written about and find fascinating are algorithms in the social media platforms that specifically actually emphasize trolls. So basically, like if I'm a troll that reports an artist like Exotic Cancer, who actually with Alicia Amara designed this t-shirt, if a bunch of people report that account, it doesn't take into account, oh, that's a group of trolls that specifically want to get sex workers off of art platforms. It just says, oh, a lot of people are reporting this, let's take that off. And a lot of times it comes down to men who make the final decision of, what this is, and cis men and cis white men. And so a lot of the things we're exploring, some examples, I would recommend looking up Fem Inc. They did a white paper called Take Back the Ad about algorithms and online advertising. Also, there's a really great study called Defining and Designing Trans Technologies, where basically they looked at Tumblr and they asked, is this a trans technology? And the conclusion was it was a trans technology until the new algorithms came into play, which, it was widely known as the porn ban, but not only did it ban porn, but it also banned erotic art and queer content of expression of sexuality. Another one I really suggest looking into is called the Algorithmic Justice League, and they are awesome. It's a woman from MIT who actually studied why self-driving vehicles were hitting people of color, specifically African Americans. And the reason was because all the developers of the technology were white. And so the people they put into the algorithm to train the data was white people. And so the cars literally could not recognize Black people as people, which is a huge problem and goes back to, it's not the problem with this, it's not the problem with the technology per se, it's actually the problem with the people behind the technology. And lastly, I think a great and a very important thing to talk about is making sure we're designing for diversity in digital spaces. And that means meeting people where they are and relentlessly designing to incorporate the learnings along the way. So right after this, Val and I are hopping into Headstream's science fair. We were awarded a grant from them to build LIPS's technology. And we're going to be working with LGBTQ youth, youth of color, and really getting their feedback on what we're building at LIPS. And so for LIPS, don't forget to go to lips.social/signup because we are looking for beta testers. We want your feedback. We are building this for you. We want to create a social platform and technologies beyond that serve this community and allow us to express ourselves without censoring.